Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. So as you can tell from the title of this video, today I'm not just reviewing a book, but I'm also crocheting as I do. So I have my yarn with me. I am going to be making a bookmark. So the book that I'm going to talk about today is The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. So before we start, first of all, an applause for the cover because this is such a beautiful cover. This is a paperback that I have and the cover is so pretty, and I love this book, as you can tell from the many tags that I have on this book. So before we get into the plot of this book, I had read another book by Axie Oh called XOXO, and it was most contemporary romance, kind of like a fan fiction where a girl meets a K-pop idol, and it was a pretty predictable book. But this is a fairy tale retelling, and this book was so good. I rated it, I think, 4.5 stars, and I had the time of my life reading this. It was just that good. So the plot follows our main character Meena, who lives in a village where there are a lot of storms, and the villagers believe in this myth of a sea god, and they believe that they should offer a maiden to the sea god so that the storms would stop. So every year they offer a maiden to the sea god, hoping that the storms would stop. This year, that girl happens to be a beautiful girl called Shimchong, and Chimchong is actually the story is actually based off of a Korean fairy tale where I think it's called the Tale of Chimchong, and it's basically about a girl who sacrifices herself to gods to save her father. And this story this book by Axie Oh has taken a different perspective because this is not told from the perspective of Shimchong. It's told from the perspective of Meena. So how Meena and Shimchong's lives get intertwined is basically Meena's older brother is in love with Shimchong. So he goes on to save Shimchong from being sacrificed, and then Meena follows her brother to save him, and then ends up sacrificing herself to the sea god. So the plot kind of starts in a fast pace right off the bat, because this is something that will get you interested from the very beginning, and that is something that happened to me also. And I am somebody who loves fantasy a lot. I haven't been reading fantasy recently, but I used to read fantasy a lot. I think in school, I think at least in school, I used to read a lot of fantasy books. But lately, as I have said a million times on this channel, that I read a lot of such slice of life books. But this book was really good because it had been such a long time since I had read a fantasy book that wasn't set in a, that wasn't dystopian in the sense. Because the last fantasy book I read, I think I was rereading Hunger Games. So, from reading that to reading this, it was quite a different perspective. The leaf is coming together. So from then on, the plot follows Meena as she navigates through the world of the sea god, where she also finds that the sea god is in this enchanting sleep, and she has to find out ways to to wake him up and to make him save the villagers, and save her village from these storms. So there she meets these spirits and these demons, and together they have to find a way. So where we also get my favorite trope, which is found family. So now this is my hear me out. But as soon as she goes to the sea god's place, the whole journey is first of all very beautifully written. One thing that I really liked about this book is, while you are reading this, you get these, I think, spirited away kind of vibes. Although I would say they are different, but they are also similar in the kind of vibe they give you, the magical place and everything, the how the palace looks and how the people there are. That kind of reminds me of Spirited Away. But this was just so fun to read. I don't know how else to explain, because as you're reading it, you can, even people who don't who cannot visualize stuff when they are reading something, I think even those people can visualize the things in this book, because it's how it's written, the language that's used to describe the place. It's just very very beautiful. The place is described very beautifully, and while you're reading, you don't think that the pace is slow. A lot of people found the pacing slow in the beginning, but for me it was just the opposite, because from the very beginning you're just thrown into this big sacrifice that Meena does for her brother and Chimchong. but it's just so, it was very good paced, it was well paced for me. And I also liked how she makes friends with these spirits and these demons, and they literally become such good friends. Found family will always be that trope for me. I love any story that has, a strong found family trope, and this book does that so beautifully, because she is human, and these are spirits and demons, and where she is, there's also a catch that humans cannot survive there longer. So she has to find a way to wake the sea god from his enchanting sleep before she runs out of time, while also, like, they go on all these adventures. And because she is in sea god's place, there are also other gods, and I personally love reading about books about gods and mythical creatures. So this was such a good time for me reading this book. I think I read about 200 pages in one sitting, and I think total of, I think it's 350 or something pages. For me personally, I think it's 350 for me. And as I was reading this, there were so many moments where where you get to connect with the other characters as well. And I don't know how to explain this without spoiling you, so I'll just keep that for later. But the plot twists in this book are really something that you will not see coming. It is set, it is for young adults, but it's not something that you can predict, like the plot twist of this book. And there's also a tiny little romance subplot in this, which I really like, because they have so much banter. I love when there's banter between the love interest. And because they are both on the same mission, there are a lot of people who don't want the CEO to wake up. And Meena, along with the love interest, which you will not see coming, or maybe you will, but it will still be very fun for you to read it. And they go on adventures to find ways to get him to wake up from his sleep. And it's just so magical. It's such a good, it's such a roller coaster ride, but you'll have so much fun. Like, it's like being on a roller coaster as somebody who actually be loves being there, when you don't have fear of heights, when you don't feel nauseous as soon as you get there. So it's kind of like that. It's a roller coaster, but you love being there. Okay, so it's kind of like that. And I say this as somebody who hates roller coaster, by the way. I have a fear of heights. So this is my way of explaining to you how fun you'll have reading those. And I think for me personally, the romance was very cute. It was fast paced, because as this was a subplot of the main plot. That was, I mean, technically you can say that love was the main plot, and they hashtag win from with the love, power of love kind of thing. But it was a subplot all through, and that is also something I really liked, because just because there was a love interest, the main focus of character Meena did not lose from saving the villagers, saving her village from the storms and stuff. So that is something that I really liked. The side characters, the demons and spirits that are in the book, whose name I cannot remember right now. Their story also, and how their characters are so important to Meena, as you get to the main big climax of the book. I think before the big climax of the book, and the before the ending of it all, there's also like tiny, I would say, tiny reveals that happen. And then you're just like, oh, this makes so much sense. It's one of those uh, cliche, I would say. It's one of kind of like a cliche kind of reveals, where you're just like, okay, this is so cliche, but it's so fun to read. It's like, how do I explain this? It's like when you see a love interest, and they are going to end up together, because half the movie is left, and no matter, even if they had like a big fight in the before the interval of the uh, movie, but you just know they're going to get together. So it's kind of like that, like the big reveals that happen, like the little reveals that happen, not related to her love life, but the little reveals around her life, around her family, that happen. You can kind of see it coming, but it's just a beautiful little surprise for you. And I personally really, once again, the found family. I think what made me love this book even more is, I will just read about anything if it has found family in it. I have watched the worst of worst shows, like where the plot is so bad that you're just thinking that, oh my god, I could literally write better than this. But then they have a really strong found family trope, okay? And like this is a contradicting statement in itself, because you have to have good plot to, to have a good basis for what the found family is based on. But there are some plots that are just bad, but the found family is still very good. And I think because the book had good plot, they did not lose the plot at all. I love when writers know what they're writing from the beginning to the end, because there are a lot of books that promise you a lot and then in the middle it just kind of gets lost. Because it would have been very stupid if, if Meena got like sacrificed herself for her brother and then just, forgot all about her villagers and was just like, oh, now I have a love interest, so, fuck them, who cares? But then that did not happen. Through the entire book, Meena, okay, there's something that a lot of people can find problematic. So Meena is 16-year-old, a human, and her love interest is a god, like a thousand years old god. So because she is, supposed, like, she sacrifices herself to be the sea god's bride. So like the sea god is obviously like 1,000 million years old. Like, I mean, we can't even count how many years old he is, because he's a god and she is human. So their love interest is kind of, can be creepy, because she is literally a minor, but then it's fantasy and he's a god. So I think if you look past that, if you look past the fact that she is a minor, so you will have a lot of fun reading that. And the love interest that you think is going to be her love interest does not end up being her love interest. I would say that's a spoiler, but it's not. You kind of feel it when when there's so much banter going on. But I promise you, you are not going to see the plot twist in the end. And I loved how beautifully this entire book got wrapped up, because there are a lot of books where the plot is beautifully done, the writing is good, everything is good, but in the end it kinds of just fizzles out. In the end it kind of just something, a secret third thing ends up happening. But in this book you expect to all to for all things to end well, and they do. And they do it very beautifully, because all the arcs, every single character gets their ending. Every single character has has a whole like their character arc gets an ending. So that is something that I really liked. This segment is called I forgot I was making a video. So after telling you guys the plot, I forgot that I had to kind of give an outro as well and give additional information whatever I had, but I forgot because I was crocheting. And yeah, that's what happens when you crochet, at least to me. And for those of you who are interested in getting a very calming hobby, something that grounds you, do not pick up crocheting, because it does not calm you at all. It actually infuriates you to levels that you cannot understand. Like, it is infuriating me right now because I lost count of how many stitches I had. But anyway, so if you are interested in a book that gives you, Spirited Away or other movies by Studio Ghibli, Ghibli, however you say it. So if you are interested in, in a feeling, in a book that gives you that cozy feeling, if you are interested in a cute little young adult romance, and if you are into fantasy books that are not about dystopia, you should definitely check out this book by Axie Oh. That's all for the video, guys. Do let me know if you check out this book, and if you have any recommendations for other books that I should read, or books that you would like me to review with or without spoilers. Do let me know. Also, if you want to chat with me, you can do that via my social, which are mentioned in my profile. And if you are interested in things that I crochet, you can check out my page, which I will put right here.